Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Something Super Spiritual. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, and I'm so happy to be back in this new year with my very special new bestie, Reverend Nicole Powell. Um, you know what, Nicole? I was gonna read part of your bio in your website, but I think I would just rather have you introduce yourself to us and let's just go from there. You have such an inspiring, beautiful story to share, filled with incredible teaching moments that so many people can be lifted through. So yeah, let's just talk about Nicole. So hi.
Well, hi, Jeff, and hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here today and share a bit about my journey, my story, and that's all in my new book. My name is Reverend Nicole Powell. I live on Vancouver Island, BC, and specifically in Lake Cowichan, which is a small town in the middle of nowhere. I am a full-time working medium. I work in person. People drive up to my house as well as around the world. I teach classes. I run 2 circles. I got my own circle and also a spiritualist center about an hour away where we do services twice a month. And I like to call us the revolutionists in this spiritualist movement because we're all about where it's going, not so much where it's been. Of
Yeah.
course, we got to honor the traditions and the history, but also consciousness is alive and now. So we're really into where mediumship is right now.
Yes. And I'm glad that you said that because it evolves.
Totally.
It
Yeah.
evolves. Mediumship is evolving. Spirituality is evolving. As we, are waking up more and more and more, our consciousness is expanding and things are not like they used to be in the past with regard
Absolutely not.
to all
And
of that.
just being able to have the process of writing a book and being on this journey for 16 plus years, you see how much I've changed and how much consciousness has changed, and things that are kind of like that 100 monkeys where people just adapt to not thinking like that way anymore. And I
Totally.
love it. It's about staying current with what are our new beliefs and where are these things going and moving.
Yes.
We
Yes.
can laugh at old spiritual techniques we used to use, being like, oh my God, that was so weird. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's so true. And you know what? That's a good point. Like to not take things so seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah.
guys, Nicole wrote this beautiful book, The Power, A Call to Mediumship. And Nicole and I have a mutual bestie, Kevin Lewis. You all know Kevin through my work, our work in Sedona with the event in October, and we have another one coming this June. And Nicole's a good friend of Kevin's, and Kevin was like, "You got to talk to my friend Nicole. You got to talk to my friend Nicole." So let's talk about your journey. So
Yeah.
were you always aware of spirit, like from the crib? Are you one of those that was speaking with your crossed over great grandparents from the crib in bed? I mean, like, or did it happen later in life, like so many of us?
Well, for me, I was born highly, highly sensitive. I didn't really talk much. I was super removed and recluse. I liked to hang out by myself and play with my animals. My mom always said I was an animal communicator and had a way with them. I did 4-H. I think I had like 6 or 7 pets, 3 rabbits, 2 birds, a cat, and I really wanted a dog. But I could communicate with them and know their needs. So that was more my gift as a child. And I used to have these dreams and wake up in the middle of the night where I would be transported to other lifetimes. So that was something that would happen in the dream state for me. But no, there was no loved ones in spirit inviting, saying hi to me over the crib. There was no spirits talking to me. I didn't have imaginary friends or anything like that. I was pretty in this world with just these flashes or flashbacks of other lifetimes that I was very aware of. Now, as a small child, I always wanted a connection to a higher power. We had no religion in our home because my dad wanted us to have our own experience with the creator, and he didn't want it indoctrinated through religion. So I was a little bit jealous of my friends that got to go to church because I thought they were in on some information I didn't get to know about. But I remember praying as a child. I remember having seances. I used to set up candles in seance format and invite spirits in. And that seemed totally normal and a little bit witchy. I also used to make potions. And I think I was 11 when I asked my mom for my first Wiccan star around my neck. And I was obsessed with spiritual stores. And that's where I wanted to spend my childhood money. So it wasn't like I was seeing spirits, but I was communicating with spirits.
Some,
Yeah.
yeah, you were totally connected, totally
Yeah.
dialed in.
Yeah.
So I think it was you said in your 20s where you started to explore the healing modalities.
Yeah. Yeah, I can share a bit about that. So when I was 19, I kind of went through a series of a bunch of deaths. My best friend died, and then my other best friend died, and then my grandparents started to pass away. And I started having dreams of them coming to visit me. And I believe that was the entry point of mediumship starting to happen. So I remember after my grandmother died, we were in vacation in the Caribbean. I think we were in the British Virgin Islands, and my grandma died when we were there. And I remember waking up the next morning and being like, oh, Nana came to me in the dream. She said everything's fine and she's with grandpa now. So my parents were like kind of aware of that and encouraged, never shut me down when I said things like that. But when I was 22, I had a close call. I wouldn't necessarily call it a near death because I didn't cross over to the other side, but I had an event happen where it was very, very close. So I had appendicitis and I was very, very sick. I didn't know I had it. And I kept going to the walk-in clinics and emergency. And for whatever reason, they wouldn't treat me. And there was some kind of judgment or a feeling that they thought I was med seeking. So when they saw me, they'd specifically turn me away. And it was about the seventh time, I think the third time I went to emergency, 3 or 4 times going to the walk-in clinic. I went to emergency one last time and I was just like, I'm going to die. Like, I remember going in and out of consciousness. I slept on the bathroom floor, passed out because I was in so much pain. And I remember just crying, being like, please do something. I don't know what this is you're going to do, but I need you to help me. My stomach is going to explode. And I remember they went to go have a meeting about me in the other room because we did live in a small town. All the doctors knew each other. I know they flagged my chart. And I could hear him saying, like, what's going on? Like, what's with this girl? Like, I know she works at the hair salon. She's decent. Like, I've had haircuts by her. Like, it was really like he knew I wasn't maybe as crazy as the others thought I could have been. And when I could hear them talking about me in the other room, I just started to pray and be like, oh my God, please help me. Just help me. So, like, I'm just screaming for help here. And at the corner of my eye, this bright light started to shine and started to come towards me. And I remember thinking, like, oh, this is it. This is the angel of death coming to get me. And it was this beautiful angelic being. And I could see her porcelain face. And it's just, she was moving around me side to side. I could literally feel the heat from my cheek. And she said to me, it's like, do you want to stay or do you want to go? And I looked at her and I said, please just let me stay. Like, I saw what you did to my best friends, mothers, and fathers when you took them early and how it destroyed them and they never recovered. I can't let you do that to my family. And she said to me, if you stay, you're going to have to do this work. And I looked at her and I said, this work? I don't know what you mean. And she says, it's okay. We'll show you. And she just vanished in thin air. And with about 30 seconds, the doctor came in and was like, has anyone done a blood test, x-ray, ultrasound? And I said, no. And he said, okay, let's do it. Let's trust you that you have something going on here. And then it all just started. I got surgery. I got transported to the next major city where I had proper care. I was in the hospital for a week. I had multiple procedures done, but I was never the same after that.
Yeah.
I believe I suffered some pretty severe trauma, surgical trauma, as well as just PTSD from the experience. And I remember just feeling really off and that I couldn't get better or recover. I was very uncomfortable in my body. I remember looking in the mirror being like, who is this? Like, I must be outside of myself here because I just don't feel like my old self. And I tried everything, yoga, going vegan, going for runs, and I just felt empty. And about 9 months after this experience, I remember my boss at the hair salon, she suggested I go to a spiritual healer and also maybe go get a reading. Well, I did both of those, and the spiritual healing just opened me right up, put me back into my body. And it was like half an hour and I was myself again. And the reading showed me that I was a healer and that I needed to follow this path. So after that first session, I signed up to Langara College in Vancouver. They had a 3-year integrative energy healing program at the time. The day I called was the day they had the info center where they were taking applications. It was like boom, 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 boom. And then a few months later, I was starting this 3-year program. I don't care what it costs, 3-year commitment, no problem, whatever you need. I knew that I had to listen to that angel, that I was going to do this work, whatever it was, and that I would listen, because it was kind of like a bargain with God. And I feel that once I started my training, and we got proper training with really high quality teachers around the world, I learned how to ground, I learned how to work with energy, and then things just started to happen as I healed myself. Yeah.
Wow. The synchronicities that spirit aligns in our path that set us in the direction that we're supposed to go
Yeah.
are truly remarkable. You know, they might seem like they might seem random, they might seem like no big deal, but when they hit us like that hit you, you know,
Yeah.
your friend telling you, you know, you should go get a reading. You should see a spiritual healer. Um,
Yeah.
you know, that could be something that could be totally overlooked and be like, yeah, yeah, oh, sure, okay, you know. But the way that it landed within you, you're like, you know, okay, you're right. Let's see what this
Yeah.
is all about.
Yeah.
And then it just really starts to, you know, you can feel it on your inside when you are in alignment with your soul.
Totally.
And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. Yeah, I had chills when you were telling that story.
Oh,
Um, um, let's talk about more synchronicities that spirit lines up for us so that when
yeah.
we kind of know we're on the right path, we get nudged, you know, got to move to the left, head that direction, you know. And one thing I really loved about within your book is one of those experiences where sometimes we're given experiences and or synchronicities that are not so much in line with ourselves. So we are like consciously aware of, whoop, not my lane, moving over here. And let's talk a little bit about your shaman
Okay.
class, your shaman experience. You know, I think it's a really great teaching point.
Okay. So I was 23, 24 when I started at Langara, had amazing teachers, integrity, and they set me up for life, I
Yes.
believe. And when I was 25, so had about a year left of this program, that's when I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, ooh, spirituality. You know, I wanted to try this. I want to try this. I want to try this. I want to try this. Like I was doing everything like Diksha blessing,
Mm.
shamanism, Buddhist retreats, like you name it, I was doing it. I was like all over it because I
Yes.
had no other experience other to go by but what I was just drawn to.
Yes.
So I remember there was this shaman near my community where I was living in Squamish that was putting on these like underground circles, doing these apprenticeships. And I was like, well, I love animals. I love nature. I've been doing that since I was a kid. And also just this feeling of wanting to know my ancestry better. And he was a Celtic Druid shaman. So I thought, okay, yeah, that's me. Like I came from that lineage. So it's better than trying to do something that I'm not. So I started going to hit some of his workshops and classes. And I know something very different, but he had this way about him. He kind of used like reverse psychology that nobody was good enough for him. And so you kind of had to prove your worth. And at 25, that kind of reverse psychology worked for me. That wouldn't work on me now, but
Mhm.
then it did.
Sure.
So he would kind of use things like, oh, I don't know if you're strong enough for my class, Nicole. Like, only the deepest could really survive this. And you know, you're just a light worker. I don't think you have what's in you to be able to do this. And so that made me want to do it even more. I wanted to show my commitment. I wanted to prove to him I was worthy. So I asked to sign up for his apprenticeship. And throughout the training, it was a little bit weird. Like I noticed like my life just felt off. Like I was having nightmares all the time. Everything was kind of like falling apart around me. I wrecked my neck, which was kind of ending my career as a hairdresser. I remember my boyfriend at the time was cheating on me and we had to
Oh,
sell our house. And I was just like, I just felt like I was like carrying this dark cloud when I was involved with him. You know what I mean?
yes.
And I remember asking kind of spirit, like, is this good for me? Like, should I be doing this? And I would kind of get no answer, but weird things would just keep happening to me. And he invited us to a conference he was putting on, which was like a worldwide shamanic conference where people were coming from all over the world to come to this retreat center and do 5 days of shamanism. And I went to that like as an invitation from him. And I actually met some really cool people that I still love today. But he was doing one of his ceremonies where he was graduating his students after a 3-year apprenticeship with him. And he invited us into this kind of like indoor outdoor space where it had like the big fire pit in the middle, but it was kind of hovered and closed a little bit. And he wrapped it with drapes and he made it, he was so theatrical. Like he used to be in theater, right? So
Okay.
he would have all these colors and lights and everything kind of decorated. So you were just enthralled by him. But he had us all sit in the space and then he poured gasoline around the edges and lit it on fire. And talk about fire safety, but we were inside a burning circle. And I thought, this is kind of weird. And then he had his students dressed in black robes and he gave them each like a plant medicine. I don't know what it was, but it was to get them out of the way. And then he started having his other students drumming. So as if he was putting them into a trance. So these students were like, their eyes were kind of going sideways as the medicine kicked in. The drumming was putting them into a deep state of trance. And then he pulled out these vows and he started reading them. And I remember everyone in the room was kind of in trance, but because I was so rebellious, I remember sitting there like with my arms crossed, being like, I'm not believing a word he says, and I don't like him. And so it was almost like I was pushing against following the herd, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I remember him saying the vows and everything seemed normal until he said, and if you leave me, his name, Jean-Pierre in the book, you will be cursed 10,000 lifetimes. And I just heard them verbatim. If I leave you, I will be cursed 10,000 lifetimes. And I remember putting my hands on my mouth being like, oh my God, this is not what I was taught at Langara College. Like, you do not mess with this kind of energy. You do not vow anything that you don't commit to. This is not a game. This is not theater. This is real life. And I remember sitting there going, okay, spirit, if you want me here, move me forward. If you don't want me here, move me back. I'll just sit neutrally. Well, within, I want to say literally like 20, 30 seconds, the back two legs in my chair split and I fell backwards
Oh.
on the ground in the middle of the ceremony. Everyone's like, what the hell is she doing on the floor? So I get up, I'm laughing. I can't believe it. And I'm laughing so hard that I laughed all the way out the back door. And there was this woman standing there, and she too was at Linger, and she was looking at me, and I was looking at her, and she's like, run, get the heck out of here. And so I did. I laughed. And they saw me leaving the property. And some of the elders in the tradition followed me out. What are you doing? Why are you leaving? And I'm like, you will never hear those words coming out of my mouth, ever. And they were trying to do like gaslighting, like, I don't know what you're talking about. He never said that. And oh, it's just a game. And if you just want to, put your fingers twisted like this, it can reverse curses. And I was like, girl, like, you're insane. I'm never, ever going to say that. And so I left and burned everything that I ever did with him, buried it, burned it, cracked it. And because of my training at Langara, thank God I knew how to reverse a lot of that stuff and move energy out. But I was done. And it was a little embarrassing because I didn't want anyone to know that I got involved in a cult. But at the same time, I knew that that was my life experience. And spirit showing me when I'm on the right track and when I'm not.
Yes.
Because when I'm on the right track, it's like the ground's moving beneath me. But when I'm not, my life is just a black cloud and everything starts to fall apart.
It's huge to recognize that. And also it takes courage to act on that. You know, so many of us may have been in that moment too embarrassed to get up and walk out. You know what I mean? Or you know, it's just it's a really great, the message in that story is very powerful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You got to really trust the signs. And in those moments of turning points, spirit will show up and show you the door. But
Totally.
you have to listen and be brave, because I felt like I went against the grain.
You totally did. Yeah. Yeah, you totally did. Courage is a very, very, very big piece in this path. You know,
Yes.
and even just, you know, when people are not called to be on a Zoom like us, or teachers, or getting in front of audiences to demonstrate mediumship, even just waking up spiritually, waking up to the truth in who we are, that divine spark, and recognizing it, that takes courage, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
So
I keep
yeah,
thinking of the Wizard of Oz. Like, you need courage, you need the brains, and you need the love
yeah, you
if you
need the
want to
heart.
go on a journey, right?
100%. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just I love that story. And now with regard to other synchronicities, like when you are on the right path, this was one of my favorite experiences in your book, where you went to Arthur Finley and
Yes.
the story of the orange roses. Will you please tell us that story?
Yes, I will. And I'll tell you how it all started. So, my grandmother passed away. And right after she died, my schedule at work changed, because I was doing tarot readings and healings on the side, and then working 4 days a week in a residential treatment center. And all of a sudden, they gave me Sundays off. So I thought, oh, I'm going to go check out the local spiritualist church, see if I can get a message from my grandmother, right? Well, going there, I kept hearing about this place called the Arthur Finley College, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go there. I want to go. Like, what is this place? So I remember kind of saying that to myself, I'm going to go, I'm going to go. And I got some messages from my grandmother, and she said she wanted me to do this work, stand here and do this work. And so I was kind of getting the feel that maybe mediumship was a pull for me, and that it was starting to line up synchronistically. And then about 7 months after she passed, I got a random inheritance from her with a note that said that this was to be used for education. So I thought, well, I've done all my education I needed, like within school regions. So let's use this for mediumship. So I signed up for a course. I fly over there 4 months later, and my first day, I'm in class, and I'm partnered up with this lady, and she's given me a reading and I'm giving her. And she brings through my grandmother, and she says, your grandmother's so happy you made it, that you got here, that you're having this experience. And she says, so much so, she wants to give you a bouquet of roses. No, wait, orange roses. And I'm like, okay, that's cute. Not a ton of evidence, but sure, thanks. They want to give you roses. And sometimes we hear that in readings. We're like, sure, what does that mean? I don't really know, but thank you. It sounds nice.
Yes.
And so I didn't think much of it, and I carried on. Well, the next morning, so this would have been after my first sleep at the Arthur Finley College, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm brushing my teeth, and this woman someone just knocks on my door. And we're staying in this giant manor. You've been to the Arthur Finley College. We were on the second or third floor, kind of down this long hallway. So not like an obvious one, right? Not an obvious room. And this door's knocking. So I look over at my roommate, and she's totally in the computer world on her phone. And I'm like, I'm not going to bug her. So I finish brushing my teeth, and I run to the door in my pajamas, and I open it. And there's this woman standing with a bouquet of orange roses. And I'm kind of like, what's going on here? And she says, hi, my name's such and such. I don't remember. She says, I'm really late for this course. I live in London. I was working last night. And as I was leaving, I just felt really strongly that I was supposed to grab this bouquet of orange roses on my desk and bring them here, run up the stairs, and just knock on a random door and gift them to whoever answers. And I was just like, are you kidding me? These orange roses? And so I shared with her what happened, and she couldn't believe it. And I was like, my grandmother influenced you all the way from your office in London. Like, I must have got this reading at 4. She must have left work at 5, and it just flowed. So I never questioned going to the Arthur Finley College, that I needed to be there. and that I was meant to be on this path of mediumship because of my grandmother's encouragement from the other side. And we often wonder, like, ooh, is mediumship bad and dangerous? Well, I mean, how much confirmation can you have from your loved ones, your ancestors, your family members saying, Nicole, go on this path. It's right for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so special and so remarkable to be given that gift at the very beginning of your stay, that kind of evidence, that kind of synchronistic experience where so many other people are involved. I mean, oh, you guys, this is just, you can't make this up. And that's the thing about Arthur Findlay. Like if you feel a pull or you feel a spark or like a ping on your insides, you're feeling it for a reason. And I specifically remember, like with regard to my own, spirit was like hitting me over and over through like 2012, 13, 14, 15. And I was working this other job, but I had this feeling, I just knew that that's the direction I was going. The spirit, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
And I think it was 2015, and I was listening to We Don't Die with Sandra Champlain. And she started talking about her experience and her experiences at Arthur Findlay College. I didn't think anything about mediumship training or going places. I didn't know that anything like this even existed. But as soon as she started talking about it, like you, boom, I was like, okay, I know I'm going there. I know I'm going there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I know I'm going there. And as soon as my job ended, within 6 months, I was there for 2 weeks. So, yeah, I love that story, the orange roses. It's just so special. It's so special. And then the thing is, so many of us have compared Arthur Findlay College to Hogwarts. It's like the Hogwarts school for, psychic mediums and spirituality and it's really true. I mean, to get to that place in that big manner, not unlike Hogwarts, it's not as dramatic as Hogwarts, the castle and the school and stuff, but to be in that energy where everybody is there for the same reason and you all speak the same language, even if you don't speak the language yet, like I didn't, I totally didn't, but being there, you realize that you do, and you're there for a reason. And yeah, it's truly, truly magical.
And you wonder how far back it goes, right? Like just the effort the spirit makes to get you there, right?
Yeah.
I just think it's so magical when you play it backwards. It's
Totally.
like, and then I met this person, and then aligned with this. It was so like everyone I met that week, I'm still connected to on Facebook and meet up with when I go there. Yeah. The tutors I had, it's my tutor for life.
Totally.
It's just amazing. And it's like you just randomly dropped in on some random course and it ended up being perfect fit. Like I couldn't have, like if I knew all this information and researched to death, I don't think I could have got it that perfectly aligned.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So you guys, if you're out there and you're feeling some sort of shift, you're feeling some sort of pull, and I'm talking, more than just Arthur Findlay. It could be, to when the student is ready, the teacher arrives, and this teacher will be put in your path. And it could be, just something like maybe you love animals, you just have this deep connection with animals, and suddenly here comes this teacher that is teaching about animal communication and how to truly like energetically connect with them in ways that is so much deeper than the muggle world.
Yes.
And so if you're feeling just wherever you're being tugged, pay attention to that. Pay attention.
Yeah. I often think J.K. Rowling went to the Arthur Findlay College and got inspiration and then wrote Harry Potter. Like, I was like, how did she get it? Like, with all the teachers' names on the wall and how the walls kind of communicate. Like, I was like, she must have went there for inspiration because they were there first.
I wondered the same thing. I totally did.
Yeah. We have to ask her one day.
So okay, with regard to this journey, this path.
Yeah.
a lot of people, when they wake up to this extra, they're recognizing their extraness, you know what I mean, on their insides. This connection to spirit, this connection to each other, these synchronicities are like blowing their mind, and they're like, wait a minute, this is so weird. How did this happen? How did this happen to make this happen, to make this happen? And a lot of people who grew up with religion, regardless of what it might be, it doesn't matter. But this newness, this expansiveness can be frightening for some people.
Especially if you grew up with that religion.
Oh, completely. I mean, specifically, like, well, you know, I grew up with Christianity. So we all know in the Christian world, you know, speaking to mediums and psychics is, you know, it's not looked on highly favorably. You know, and others. So let's talk about religion. In your book, you had talked about how you really didn't grow up with religion, and your parents were so open to spirituality, where that was nurtured and it was fostered, and it was okay that you talk to trees or animals, you know what I mean? And you had that open relationship with spirit. So how do you see religion today? Like, how does, because you're a reverend. So let's talk a little bit about that and that piece within your journey.
I feel it's funny. You know what I heard in my head? It's dying a slow death. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't be saying that. But let's be honest here.
Yeah.
The more we wake up and grow up,
Yeah.
it's easier to move beyond the limits of religion and go, ooh, yeah, that doesn't resonate with me anymore. And I don't need to go to a priest to talk to God. I can have a direct connection. And it's not evil to communicate with the spirit, because all I feel back is love.
Yes.
And there's nothing unnatural about feeling my loved ones in spirit around me. That's not dark.
Yes.
That's not a fallen angel or the devil in disguise. And so it's almost like you kind of don't know when you're in kindergarten and then you're in grade 12. You look at things back and be like, oh, wow, I can't believe, you know, I believed that, or I had to grow out of that. So I'm calling this more the spiritual maturity that happens when you go beyond it and you get out of your realm of this is the way it is and this is it, because that's divide and conquer. And we're talking about unity consciousness here. Yes. Joining, letting love be the religion, right? That love is the answer and it answers every time. And that we are encouraging enough to have that divine connection today. And it's welcome to all of us, not special people, right?
Truth.
And so I was very open to wherever spirit wanted to guide me. And for whatever reason, it directed me to spiritualist ministry. You know, sometimes I still question, I'm like, how did I get here? Right. But I see how the role plays with it. And in Canada, we're not limited to it as a religion like it is in the UK with the SNU. So we got tons of free range to play with it and move and evolve with spiritualism as it continues to grow. But it's very much about that direct communication with spirit and being able to understand the laws of cause and effect and spiritual laws. Also, being able to take self-responsibility and grow ourselves into who we are. And I do believe you're going to be asked to go beyond your beliefs, the indoctrination, or what was taught to you as a child. And it's going to ask you to meet that point and going to ask you, is that true? Right? I mean, I was very blessed that I didn't have to go through that. But I see a lot of people around me that did have religion that it's a struggle to hop over.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Totally.
And I feel like I'm trying to learn compassion, understanding, to see it from their perspective, which my husband, Matthew, was very much, grew up as a Catholic boy and has all that and has had to undo. He calls it, I can't even remember what he calls it anymore, but he's a recovering Catholic. That's what it is.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for bringing that up, because that was another one of my, it just pinged me on my inside. So let's talk about Matthew and his grandmother. That was another like really beautiful synchronistic moment.
Yes.
With regard to that. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's funny. This is probably some of the most favorite story in my book, where I talk about Matthew's grandmother. So Matthew's grandmother was a devout Catholic, and she loved her religion. It served her well. She was in her 90s when she passed away. I'm not going to try and convince her otherwise. It worked
No,
for her, right?
totally.
Great. And when she passed away, I remember we were invited to her Catholic funeral. And I remember kind of checking in spirit, see if I could feel her kind of leading up to that funeral. And they had them pretty quick within 48, 72 hours. And I couldn't sense her. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I felt her passing away because she was in hospice, but I don't feel her now that she's in spirit. And I remember just really, really wondering, I'm like, does Catholicism follow you on the other side? Is she still a Catholic? Like, was she met with Jesus? Like, how was it for her? And is she carrying that over there? So we went to her Catholic funeral, and the priest did all like the frankincense and the holy water, and he blessed her casket. And I remember sitting in the audience and looking around, and I'm like, I feel nothing. Where's spirit? Where's spirit in the room? Like any other service, celebration of life, spiritually, usually spirit's full, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, nothing.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of bad. And after the service, we all drew out to the burial where she was being buried. And the priest said some more prayers for her. And we all put dirt on the casket. And right as he started to lower it, this gust of wind kind of blew on the side of my neck. And this butterfly appeared out of the sky and landed right on the coffin. And I heard her on the left side. I was a Catholic then, and I'm a Catholic now. And I was like, all right, got it. And she says, I had to have my service first. I wanted my casket blessed before I'd be doing any spirit communication. And it was like boundaries, and it was like exactly like her, like as if she was teaching me a lesson. And I just had so much respect for her, her path, what it was like for her crossing over. And she was doing it exactly the way she needed.
Yeah.
And she got everything she needed of it. And every now and then I check in on her, and yeah, still Catholic. Don't mess with it. Okay. And that kind of takes me to another story that I'm actually writing about in my second book, where I had a reading with this young girl, and her mom came into the room. And I remember being like, oh God, her mom's here. I feel like I have to be on my best behavior. And I feel like she's judging me, and she's not even in the reading, right?
Yeah.
And I remember bringing through her boyfriend that passed away. And it was very clear he was atheist. He never had any religion. And I remember the mom staring at me from the corner of her eye, and she says, did he meet Jesus?
Oh, yep.
And I said, and I looked at her and I said, he's in a different department. And she says, excuse me? And I said, it's like Jesus is hanging out on this side in this store. And he came in and met with all his loved ones in spirit. But he entered through a different portal. Like he didn't need to enter through Jesus because he never was a Christian. I said, but he's still in the spirit world. He's still under the same umbrella. He just took his own way home. And for him, it was more comfortable this way than that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if she liked my answer, but I was really trying to explain to her that I wouldn't be able to communicate with him if he was in hell right now, and that he seemed pretty happy where he was. So maybe that put a bug in her ear. I don't know. But I feel like after she left, she was smiling, so she didn't think I was doing the devil's work.
What is hell?
Hell? Well, it's the mind, and it's here on this physical plane. Darkness, getting controlled by your thoughts, beliefs, addiction, depression, getting self-suffering. That's hell. It's absolute hell. And we have the experience on earth to live in the higher vibration or the lower vibration. And I believe that we're here to experience both.
Both.
And we learn through pain and suffering to help catapult us into the light. And it's available to all of us, but no one's subject to that for eternity. I believe that being in hell on this earth can last a very long time if you're suffering.
It feels like it.
Yeah. And we can see that just we're all on the same planet, yet we're all living completely different lives, realities, on journeys. And you could be sitting next to somebody in hell while you're in heaven on earth.
Truth.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many of us that are in that place of suffering and just pure challenge. And you know, every single one of us know what it feels like to be there. And you know, like you said, the depression, the anxiety, the the fear comes with
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
Um, it feels to me, just with my own experience, because I've struggled with depression, anxiety my whole life.
For sure. Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you can have one foot in heaven and one foot in hell at the same time. You
You
know,
can.
you really
That's the gift
can.
of this world.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's exactly, that was going to be my point, is that's why we're here, you know, to
Yes.
truly
Yeah.
experience the duality that this world is, and then learn, grow, and make, you know, different choices. Um, and, you know, along with those choices, specifically with regard to mental health, you know, like depression, anxiety, so many of us are, it's so widely, um, so many people have that problem, have that
Mhm.
issue, you know.
Mhm.
And what do you have to say about that? You know what I mean? We because that is literally, that is a physical, our physical brain has that physical, um, chemical imbalance, I guess is what they might call
Yeah.
it, you know, from a scientific perspective.
Yeah.
Um, um, yeah, well, speak a little bit on that.
When I reflect on my life up until now, and I can think of times I was truly living in hell, the pain was so great that it was worse than my current reality, that it forced me to change.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
sometimes the pain has to be greater than the addiction or the depression or the unhealthy dynamic relationship you're in or the job that is like, I'm at my threshold.
Yes.
I'm going to use this to launch me some other direction.
Yeah.
So I look at pain now as warning signals and going, what is this trying to get me to shift? Because as we know, when we don't change our life, things get worse. And they
Yes.
get worse and worse and worse. And if we get into victim mentality and why me and it's because of them, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yes. Oh
And
gosh,
it's like
yes.
the trajectory gets so extreme that it's like, where's your rock bottom? Where's it where you're going, no, okay, I'm done. 10, I'm at a 10 out of 10. I got to change.
Yes.
Because nobody can do that for you. No one can try and convert you or make you change except you. And I believe we can use that pain as a turning point in our life to say, I'm willing to shift and make it better because
Yes.
I know where I've been and I know where I'm not willing to return to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yes, and you know, when we are waking up to the truth and who we are,
Yeah.
the conscious expansion,
Yeah.
recognizing the divinity within ourselves and in and reflecting it in each other, seeing it in everybody else.
Yeah.
A part of that, in that awakening, which I think is one of the most important pieces,
Mm-hmm.
is when we get to that place where we start to recognize our own accountability and our own responsibility
Mm-hmm.
in our thoughts, words, actions, choices, decisions. You know what I mean? And specifically starting with ourselves, like you just said, you know, I am not willing to go that direction any longer. It's too painful. I have to make these changes, no matter how hard they might be.
Yeah.
And then when we make those choices for ourselves and we're working through that and we start that healing process, and it's hard. That healing
Mm-hmm.
process is hard. We're
Mm-hmm.
moving through our own traumas in life, however they might look, those childhood wounds, so even the wounds that happened as adulthood, you know, we're still moving through all of that.
Yeah.
And we, within all of that healing, comes that expanded awareness and that
Yeah.
expanded consciousness, and we start to recognize our own accountability.
And that treasure that you find within
Yes.
is life changing every time.
Every time.
Right?
Mhm.
Every time. And it will be your story that you tell for the rest of your life of how
Mhm.
you got from A to B,
Mhm.
right? So we could stay in the suffering and go like, for me, so and
Yes.
so did this to me. And you
Yes.
can stay there forever because as long as you're in victimhood, you cannot heal. Like you're literally stopped your threshold of being able to. But the moment you surrender and say, I want more for myself, Spirit, help me, back on synchronicity, back on track, maybe slow moving, but all of a sudden things start to change and you have your awakening. Yeah.
Yes. And then we become a little bit more mindful.
Yes. And wise and compassionate to other people's suffering,
Yes.
and being able to lead by example, which can inspire people to change. Right. And if we
Yes.
stop trying to be competitive and jealous of people of what they have and we want, and they get it because they were luckier and blah, 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 we actually get inspired by people. We can start to see transformation occur, and you can start to pull towards that trajectory so that you can have it too.
That's it. That's it. When we
Yeah.
start to recognize the light within,
Yeah.
we don't even have to try. And it affects other people in our world.
Mm-hmm.
It
People you
affects
don't
other
even
people.
know.
Well, I was just
Right.
going to say that. You're sitting on the bus, on the subway. Somebody that you're sitting next to will feel that frequency within you. And it might not be
Yes.
conscious, and then it might be, but they might feel or sense this something about you. And then you get up and get out of the subway, and they're sitting there, and now they're thinking about it the rest of the way on their journey.
Yeah.
And it's like, what was that? It's the light. It spreads.
Absolutely.
It's kindness begets kindness,
Mhm.
and light begets light. And it just starts to spread little by little.
Yeah. And all you have to be mindful of is your own, and a
Absolutely.
willingness to change, and a willingness to be there. And I feel like we come to this earth and we walk around going, what am I doing? What is my purpose?
Uh-huh.
But if you just recognize that it's your self responsibility of this lifetime to walk through this world with eyes wide open, how may I serve? I am the
Yes.
light I am. You'll be directed where to go. And every time you affect somebody, you feel better, right?
Yes.
So it just keeps getting better. And
Yes. It's so true. When
it
we
it's simple. It's like a vocation trying to move through. Sometimes we complicate. We think our purpose is a job, but really
oh,
it's a way of life.
you know, this conversation is so beautiful because I was just having this somewhat similar conversation with a friend the other day about purpose.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what if it's really just as simple
Mm.
as kindness? What if it's
Mm.
really just as simple as just being mindful of that person in the mirror,
Yeah.
being mindful of who you are and where you are, and start to be kind with yourself,
Yeah.
start to make kinder choices and decisions
Yeah.
for yourself. And I mean, what if it's just as simple as that? And then when we're in that mode, we just might be out in public one day and hold the door for somebody and smile. And
Yeah.
that might send that person on a completely different trajectory the rest of the day, that they
Totally.
were touched by your kindness and your light.
Yeah.
What if it's just as simple as that?
What if? And
We
when
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
In waking up, it's oh my God, there's something bigger than me out there.
Yes.
Spiritually mature is oh my God, it's within me.
Yes.
Right. And it's like instead of looking out, it's going in and letting that shine from there.
Totally. And
Yeah.
in this society today, with all of the Oprahs and Tony Stockwells and all those big name people who have great big platforms and great big voices and great bigness.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many of us can get caught up in the supersizing
Oh yeah.
of our purpose. You know what I mean? Supersizing our purpose, our passion, our whatever it might be, right? That it's got to look like that in order for it to be worthwhile or for it to be meaningful.
Yeah. You're
And
making me laugh because I thought of a time I was teaching a class of like 10 people, and one of them said, well, I feel my purpose is to help hundreds of people. No offense, Nicole.
oh, okay. That's cute, actually.
It doesn't matter if it's 1,000, 10,000, five, like because the light just illuminates,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, where do you need me, spirit? Where do you need me? I don't care what the limit is.
Oh, that's rich. Yeah. Um, this has been such a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I feel just so high off the
Yeah,
spirit right now. Just
totally.
the connection and just the energy, just bringing it up. This has been so fun.
So within your journey, what challenged you? Like what was difficult? What was scary? What did you resist?
Mm. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Waking up to spirituality, growing up to it, and putting myself out there to people, I was really blown away by how many people wanted to take it, like narcissistic behavior, riding on your coattails, taking over, trying to glam the light, but recognizing that that was my responsibility, that I needed to learn boundaries, stand strong in who I am, assert myself, and stay strong without someone crushing me, sabotaging, or criticizing me to death to make me not want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel it's part of the journey.
Yes.
Putting yourself out there, you're going to get slammed or people are going to try and take from
Yep.
you.
Yep.
But it's staying in your alignment regardless, because people come and go, but the only thing that's true is spirit. And if you can hold that alignment and stay with it, regardless of whatever's coming at you, recognizing that this is all there to strengthen me,
Mhm.
then I don't take it too seriously and go, look what they did. Can
Yeah.
you believe they did that to me? But that has been, well, it's been 12 years now of this journey, and it's become very real, but also something I help educate other people about now too. About you may come out there so naive and innocent, it's like, I'm working for spirit, I'm working for spirit. But what comes back to you may be really asking you to hold that without getting caught up in things. Yeah.
Yeah, that piece of putting yourself out there,
Mm.
I resisted and I resisted and I resisted. I mean, I it terrified me
Mm.
to get in front of people, you know, to for those for the trolls, for the cynics, you know.
Trolls.
Um yeah, that was really hard for me. Another thing that was really hard for me um was really finding my own voice and trusting my own voice.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a really scary thing because in order to discover your voice, you
Mm-hmm.
actually have to open your mouth. And that's the scariest part.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
and then you have to open your mouth in front of people.
Yeah.
And you're really being tested to
Yeah.
in trusting yourself, trusting spirit,
Yeah.
in especially with regard to the mediumship and getting on a podcast and just having a conversation, or getting on YouTube, a YouTube live stream and having a conversation.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's I say this part because there are so many of us that struggle with finding eh, well, yeah, finding and even accepting that you are, that you are the light, we all are. And
Mm-hmm.
in our own journeys, as scary as it might be, when you know, and
Yeah.
take a deep breath, close your eyes, count to 10 and just go. you
Yes.
know
And what I found the best training that Spirit was endurance training me on was I got ordained as a minister at the beginning of the pandemic. And I had to stand on a platform or on a Zoom channel and I had to preach. And I had to stay in unity consciousness and love without taking sides, without having an opinion, without Nicole getting in there and allowing it to be inclusive. You want to talk about training?
Ooh.
That was training.
Hmm.
And being able to stay in current and allowing people to have their own opinions, whatever they want to do with the vaccine, all that, just and being neutral and being like, I have to share what is true and love
Yes,
without kind of joining in. Because a lot of people would message me and be like, well, this channel told me this, and then this channel told me this. And it's like, we got to remember that a lot of it, we're still in there. And the filter that comes through is a lot of opinion at times. So
totally.
I call it endurance training to be able to go beyond Nicole,
Yep.
right?
Yep. the thing is, you had mentioned the person in the back seat. Every single one of us are getting through life, and we each have a different vantage point.
Mhm.
It's like being in a stadium at Taylor Swift. You could be at the very front of the stage, or at the very back of the U, or you could be at the very side corner on the side of the stage. You're all experiencing this magnificent experience,
Yes.
but you all have different vantage points. So that's not like that anybody's wrong. It's
Mm.
just a different perspective.
Totally. You're a different lens, different journey, different
Yes,
obstacle course that you came in
that's
here
it.
for.
So I love what you said about just being open to other people's positions, and if they feel like their position is the only position, well, okay, we let them, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
um,
You could waste a lot of energy trying to convince anybody,
that's
right?
it. That's absolutely it.
And putting yourself out there as a medium, you may lose a lot of friends. You may
Mhm,
not. I don't
mhm,
know, it doesn't matter. I didn't
mhm,
really notice because to me, again, the pain of going backwards and being back in the closet was more painful than putting
mhm.
myself out there and losing people.
Totally.
Some
Yeah,
people are afraid to put
that's
themselves out there.
that's a
Just
really
remember
good
about
point.
the cost of not being yourself.
Mhm,
It's harsh.
mhm,
It's very harsh.
mhm.
Yeah.
Nicole, how do you experience the divine?
How do I experience it? I feel it. It's like a flush within me that gives me this unwavering confidence and it just pulls me forward. And it's like this all knowing, all love, all accepting. And it's kind of like me, only smarter. You know what I mean? It's like this enhanced version that gets to come through. And that's how I experience the divine because I know when I'm in it because it starts to flow really, really well. Right. It's like things get lighter and higher and higher and higher. And it at this point in the game, it's really inside me, which I love. And I feel it right here.
Ooh, well, yeah, your high heart. I was just having a conversation the other day about where I feel it too, and it's the high heart.
I hear, oh,
Mhm.
so it's like someone's taking my scruff here and pulling me, and
Yeah,
it's like my skin
yeah.
in,
Mhm, mhm.
So it's like when I get called to do it, if I feel called to do something, like email someone, say something, mention something, it's like right here, I get it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, Nicole, thank you so much for being here. This has
Oh
been
yeah.
a really beautiful conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Before we go, would you please tell everybody, what you have coming up? Do you have any events, classes, courses? Where can people find you?
Okay, well, my website, nicolepowell.ca, on my events page has all the information. Like I said, I run circles. I give services at Two Worlds in Nanaimo, which we also have Zoom, so you can zoom in and listen and watch. So I have the link on there for people to find. I'm involved in some pretty cool events. I got a healing summit or a soul summit coming up in April, which is like a 3-day conference in Souk, BC, which I think will be really fun
Awesome.
and neat. And then I also have a Facebook page on my business page where I keep people updated and what I'm interested and what I'm sharing. And so that's a great way to just stay in contact and connect. And then obviously my book, The Power Called a Mediumship, is on Amazon. And I also on my website have a link to private readings. I am booked solid at the moment, but I'll be reopening my calendar February for summer bookings. Yeah.
Awesome. You guys, this book, The Power, A Call to Mediumship, really is super inspiring.
Thank you.
And you know what? Even if you're not called to mediumship per se, it's still so inspiring by your storytelling, the the way that you describe those synchronicities that we talked about that happen for every single one of us.
Yeah.
And when we do wake up to the truth and who we are, it's so easy to logically override all of those synchronicities. Oh, that was just a coincidence. Oh, that was just a coincidence. That was nothing. But
Yeah.
spirit will continue to ping you over and over and over until you until you come around.
Yeah, and then it becomes normal.
It's totally normal, right?
And then when it's not happening, you're like, "Ooh, something's off."
Yeah.
You know, because it should be a normal aspect of life to be riding in the flow and in synchronicity.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Nicole, thank you so much for being here. I'm hugging you from here.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, you guys, for being here on another episode of Something Super Spiritual, the beginning of this 2025. Lots to come this new year. There's a lot of the astrologers out there are talking about the shifts in energy that's taking place with Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, all the big planets. They're all making movements this year, and that in itself provides a lot of synchronicity in our lives. So it's going to be a big year, I feel.
Yeah, and it's a year to really align with spirit, because I feel like there's times for the physical, times for the mental. Now it's really time for spiritual nourishment. Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank
all right, you guys, you've been watching another episode of Something Super Spiritual. I love you all to pieces. We'll see you again next week. Thank you again for listening to the Something Super Spiritual podcast. If you know someone who would enjoy this episode, please do share it with a friend. For show notes, links, and to purchase a mediumship reading, my website is somethingsuperspiritual.com. You can also easily subscribe and follow the show on your favorite app, sign up for my newsletter for bonus content, and to keep the conversation going, you can easily join the Facebook community. It's all right there at the website, somethingsuperspiritual.com. Signing off for now, namaste.